Hello, everyone. This is Jaisal Mehta here again. And it's unfortunate that we have to do this presentation over demonstration over recording. For this is probably the price that you have to pay for working from home in this pandemic times. Um, Once again, apologies for the mix-up this morning. Um, I'm just going to quickly just refresh your memory. We are going to talk about contract lifecycle management, where we are going to talk about starting from request, collaboration, negotiation, approval, and e-signature piece. Few use cases that we are going to see. First one, we are going to see how to access the contract data because search is the most important function in my mind, because that's what we're going to use most often. How do you search? How do you search by dates? How do you search by the used clause within the contract? Second use case is going to be creating an NDA using your own paper. You have your own template and you're creating a paper contract using that. You do the external negotiation, internal review, e-signature, and all that good stuff. And the third use case is you are requesting for an NDA. In this case, there is a requester who is requesting for an NDA, but this is the NDA that has come from a third party. So third party paper NDA process that we are going to contact. These are the personas that we are going to use. Lisa, as the name says, Lisa Legal, she's a contract manager. Eric, external, is an external party. Peter Procure is an approver, and the requester is who is going to request from the contract. With that, I'm just going to directly jump into the product here. Lisa Legal, Lisa Gill has joined in, she's logged in, and she has a contract manager dashboard. This is something that we talked about during the demo. So I'm going to skip that part here, but as you can see, it's very configurable demo, including the contracts by payment term. You can drill down from there. You can see the most negotiated contract clauses and stuff like that. And this is configurable depending on what you really want to do. I think something that we did not get a chance to talk about is the search function. This is a search that we have written on top of what the ServiceNow functionality underneath provides. Again, the idea, as I mentioned earlier, in my experience, I've been in contract management space for the last 18 years. And what I've seen is most users use the search function during several times in a day. If I can provide ease of use there, there's a lot to be gained there. So for example, here you're looking for all the contracts with in-focus systems. So you obviously have list down the contracts that have in-focus in there. It also, like Google, it also shows you the highlighted area where it is showing, whether the words are showing, which is good start. However, now you can actually do search within search. You say, okay, this is good list, but I want to see all the contracts that have start date after, let's say, 1st of March. Or I can say, show me all the only contract where the NDA appears, the NSA appears, right? So a lot of those criteria that you can provide, and you can search within search. This is where it gets a little more interesting. You can actually search by the clause. You can ask which, let's say, liquidation damages. Show me all the contracts where the in-focus appears, where liquidation damage clause appears. And in this is a category, so within that you may have multiple versions. So where the liquidation clause appears, that you can show me only those contracts. It gets even more interesting. You can actually look for contracts where these liquidation clause does not appear, and this is actually very common in post-pandemic times when a lot of organizations want to know, show me all the contracts where the force majeure clause is not there. So you can search based on that as well. So a lot of interesting things you can actually do from there. Back to the dashboard page here. Now going to the second use case, where we are going to create the contract using the third-party paper. I'm sorry, I want to take it back. We're going to create the contract using your own paper. So you're going to create an NDA, we're going to create using your own paper. So Lisa is creating a contract with InFocus. she is creating an NDA type, and multiple NDA template can be there for the same contract type, and she clicks on proceed. So she lands on what we call it as a live view page, where on the right side you can see all the language that's been selected. The left side is the fields that you have to fill in to create a contract. There are a bunch of handy help that we provide. For example, you can see Aavenir Smart Session showing up here. It says similar contracts already exist. If you really want to create new contract for the same vendor again, Lisa says, okay, yeah, I am going to do that. And that's really useful, especially in large organizations when you may end up creating multiple contracts with the same vendor and thereby increasing the risk for the organization. This is the contract life cycle. It moves from draft to in review to in approval, in signature active, and then expires. Let's say here, I'm going to say NDA with in focus. As you can see, the contract is being prepared real time on the right side. If I click on contract starts, it immediately highlights there. So I can actually review that. Where does that variable going to go? It says is made effective as of. Oh, it's an effective date. Now I know what it is. So I know I'm going to say 1st of July. Term, as soon as I click on that, the term is highlighted here. But let's say Lisa is a new employee and she's trying to figure it out on what's typically a term that this organization uses. So she can actually hover over this and say NDA. Out of 70 NDA contracts that's been done, 31 of them have used 3 years as a term, which is the maximum. So she's going to say, okay, then I think it's safe for me to say I'm going to start with 3 years, or she can make her own decision. But this is kind of providing a little help along the way during the creation of a contract. You can select auto renew on, be off. These are additional things that we are providing as a more toolkit on what to enter in some of these areas as well. This is again configurable. What will you want you to save to your user? You can always mention that. There's another smart insights that of which total contracts marked so far 324 actually have used the auto renew. Stuff like that. So a lot of such information along the way the user is getting from the system, allowing him or her to be more efficient about creating the contract. As soon as a contract is saved, you can see a few more things have popped up. There's a contract attachments. You can see the audit history. Everything that happens will be actually tracked here in the audit history. All the tasks that are created for this contract will be listed here. And when you send it for DocuSign, the DocuSign related information will show up here as well. In addition to that, here you can see related contracts where usually a parent-child relationship, you want to see the hierarchy. Let's say there's an MSA and then there's a statement of work underneath that, an NDA underneath that. So you can see a complete hierarchy within that, or any related agreements here as well, because a lot of times you want to really understand the relationship between two organizations using the related contract. So you can have a complete view of that here. At a later date, when we do a more detailed demo, I'll be happy to show you that with the relevant data, you can see how beautiful it looks, and you can actually see a good snapshot of the relationship between two organizations. Similarly, amendments. When you go to amendments and renewals, you can see an entire hierarchy of amendments. The original contract can maybe renewed 3 times and then amended multiple times. You can see an entire hierarchy. You can go back to the original contract as well and refer back if required as well. So you can see the complete hierarchy here as well. Lot of such useful information is here, and we are adding more and more as we go, again trying to make it a lot easier for the end user and make it more user friendly for them. So I clicked on generate document. So that what that did was it took this language, took these fields, and attached the contract with in this contract. So you can actually see the 1.0 document is created for you, automatically attached there. Now Lisa can send for internal review, you can send for external review, you can send for approval. or she can send for signature as well. Internal review is somebody whom you are going to send it for the entire document for review, or she can actually say, okay, I just want the warranty. So she can actually right click on this and only send this one for review as well, instead of sending, because usually if it's a large document, you want to send an entire document. You can do that as well. Again, a lot of that we'll probably do it at a later stage in a follow-on demo, because I'm trying to wrap it up in hopefully 25 to 30 minutes, because watching video for such a long time is not very comfortable. So I'm going to click on external review, because that's where the strength of our Microsoft Word integration comes up, which is very, very fascinating actually. So send for external review. So Lisa is trying to send this contract to external person, which is your counterparty, for redlining. So she's selecting, let's say, Eric. Eric externally, she's an external party. He's an external party. She's sending it to Eric. She can type an email. This is like an email. Only thing, it happens from the tools. Everything is tracked within the system. She can actually select their ready-made email template, or she can type it in whatever she wants. And she's selecting the template or the attachment that's just been created. And then she clicks on send. So instead of sending these email through your Outlook, we actually are providing a facility to do everything for the system, because now everything is tracked. As you can see, it moved from draft to in review. So you can actually go to audit history and you can say when was that changed and who changed it. Lisa changed it at this time. All that you can actually track that from the system as well. I'm just going to go to Eric's email. Yeah, this is Eric's email. I'm just going to wait for a moment for the email. There's an email that popped up here. This is regular email from Lisa that has popped up for Eric. Eric is not Aavenir user, so he's just downloading the contract just like how he would do it today, and then open the contract in Microsoft Word. And again, just because he's just a Microsoft Word user and not an Aavenir user, he's just going to do what regular redlining. Let's say he's going to say, delete this, just make it all, delete this, let's say, the standard Microsoft Word actions that he would take. And then he would send it back to Lisa via email, just like how he would be doing today. Lisa, she's our new user, so she double clicks on her email attachment and opens the Microsoft Word, just like how she would do today. The difference is she is an Aavenir user, so she would see this little ribbon here called Aavenir CLM contracts. So now she can actually interact with Aavenir system directly from her Microsoft Word. So she can do everything here, just like what she would regularly do in Microsoft Word, but she can also save it in Aavenir as well, which is ServiceNow repository. So let's say Lisa says, okay, this is the version that has come in from Eric, so I want to save that as a new version. So every new check-in is a version. So original document was 1.0, and one that has been saved from Eric is 1.1. Now Lisa says, you know what? This is standard Microsoft Word, so she says accept, reject, whatever else she wants to do. But more importantly, she can actually invoke the clause library from here. This is the company's clause library that she has access to. She can actually, let's say, she says, okay, I want to do our template. I want to insert this new termination clause and remove the other one. So she can actually remove this one and retrieve this one, right? So this is the new clause that is being created, earlier deleted. And Lisa is now happy with the change. Now she can check in. Remember, this check-in, this is not saving locally. It is actually saving in Aavenir repository. So we had 1.0, which was the originally document created, which was created, which was Eric's version, which was received from Eric, and 1.2, which was changed by Lisa. So now, and I can go back to the system and show you that. But before I do that, let me just show you a quick thing here. Lisa actually can compare these versions, and she also say, okay, 1.0 and 1.2. I just want to compare what are the differences between them, and which is very powerful, right? And so she can select this, and you can actually see this side by side compare of two documents, the original document and the 1.2 version. You can see the summary revision here as well. And this is also, again, in Microsoft Word. So I'm sure some of you guys, or all of you probably, are guys are experts in Microsoft Word and you know how this works. So this is a pretty powerful feature, directly accessible from Aavenir, and this data is stored in service now, that is in Aavenir. So back to Aavenir browser part of it. Let me just refresh the page here. You will see that multiple versions are also attached. You can go and check that 1.0, 1.1, 1.2 are all attached to this contract record. Now, Lisa can send it for internal review further. She can send for approval. And this approval is a standard approval process that you would have. In interest of time, I'm not going to go through approval process, but it's a very powerful approval process. You can have hierarchical approval depending on the value of the contract. It will go to different persons and stuff. And that will work just like how you approve your ServiceNow request today using your mobile or your email. It works exactly the same way, but your rules can be defined based on the term of the contract, the value of the contract, and so on and so forth. In interest of time, I'm just going to jump directly to signature. I'm going to click on submit for signature. And here, again, we are going to send it signature. And remember, we are ready to sign, all done. Selected the email template instead of typing it in. And which version do I have to send for signature? I'm selecting 1.2 version, to the latest version that had come in, and I'm sending it. So what happens is, behind the scene, we invoke DocuSign out of the box. We integrate with DocuSign behind the scene, and we insert the e-signature parameters inside and directly send it to Eric for his signature. So you can see the contract has moved from in review to in signature, and it is pending signature. Now, if I go back to Eric's email, Eric has received this contract for signature from Lisa. You can see this is the standard email, and this is the standard DocuSign functionality. And if you are not a DocuSign customer, we are happy to work with you on Adobe Sign or any other. It's easy to integrate with them as well. This is again the standard standard DocuSign functionality. I'm just going to run through them really quickly. Eric reviews it, signs it, and says finish. As soon as that finish is done, the contract comes back to Aavenir and gets attached to this contract record here as here. So let's give it a few seconds. And by the way, this back and forth that happens here, obviously because of demo, we are jumping around. But typically, each of these actions will prompt an email to the system, so the person. So in this case, Lisa will receive an email saying that a contract has been signed. So she knows when to go back into the system. So you can see the contract is now fully signed. Again, this being a demo, it's a one-step signature. In real world, you're going to have two-step signature, and then it will be fully signed. So fully signed, you can actually go back, and you can see 2.0, which is a signed version, and this is a PDF version. Nobody can change this. You can also see now all the fields of the contracts are locked. You don't want anybody to change any value because it's a signed contract. You have two options. You can auto activate as soon as the contract is signed, or in this example, I'll just keep it. You actually have to click on activate contract, ask for confirmation, and says, okay, I'm going to send these one copy to each of these people as well. So okay, and now contract has moved from in signature to active and in effect. Once it is activated, you can see all the buttons are gone. Only thing you can do, you can renew a contract, you can amend a contract, and you can terminate a contract. And we can talk about that at a later stage. There is an interesting thing that you can do in there as well, because you can take a contract and then do a review and then do an amendment. So different, the way we track that, because you sometimes you really want to say complete hierarchy, and we can show that to you later date. So that was one use case that I wanted to show you. So we showed so far two use cases. One was the access to the data, which was the search functionality. Second was creating the contract using using your own paper, which is an NDA, using your own paper. The third one that we are starting now is a requesting for an NDA contract. So this is a contract requester dashboard. So this person has this request that he has requested for. These many have been created. This has requested this many have converted into contract. So we differentiate between request for contract and the actual contract. So request has to go through its own due diligence before it can be converted into a contract. So this is the list of requests that this person has. Clicks on new, and this is where he starts the review, sending the request for the NDA contract. So let's say this person says, I want to create a contract with InFocus Systems. This is NDA with InFocus and the third-party paper. It's an NDA, or you can select whatever is appropriate for you. Your start date, let's say the thing. You can have a let's say high, and you can just say required for IT services. You can select it for jurisdiction. Let's say I'm going to select California, and depending on the jurisdiction, your assigned to person will change. So to say, please currency. You can send the need by. When do you need that contract by? You can provide all that information that you requested. This is the information that you have provided. Now, as you can see, the threaded conversation would come up here later. You will see. And this is, remember, this was the third-party paper. So he's going to say, okay, you know what? This was the document that was provided by the third party. Is attached and kind of saved, so that when Lisa receives this, by the way, I'll show you that. So California, as soon as you select the court jurisdiction, it's California, Lisa is automatically assigned. If you select anybody else, a different user will be assigned here. So as soon as this person created the request, let me just go back to Lisa's email. So you can see this is Lisa's email. This is the new request that's been created. So Lisa is going to say, okay. So Lisa is a contract legal person, and she receives this request to create a contract. So she looks at this and she says, okay. She looks at the comments and all that. Now here she has multiple actions. She has multiple options to do it. One is She can create a contract. If she feels that this is, she's happy with everything that is provided here, she says, I'm happy to, I can create a contract. Or she can need more information. She can send it back to the requester. And she can say, please provide more information. And she can say, see, in order for me to really create this contract, I need to know, let's say, payment schedule. I probably need to know, let's say, tax exempt status or not. Depending on what she wants to know, she can do that and click on submit. And then this request will go back to the requester, requesting for that information. The requester will provide that and it will come back. Again, in interest of time, I'm going to skip that back and forth, but that back and forth will happen here very efficiently. So that again, we are not trying to rely on email. We are just trying to do all the information exchange from the tool only, and that's the idea. So you can understand and measure the process that's going on. This case now, Lisa says, okay, I'm happy to create the contract from this provided requested information. And this information flow through from the request, the vendor name, and the contract type. If you recall, you had a contract template in the earlier use case, but in this case, because it is created by the using the third-party paper, there is no need to select the language. And therefore, you also don't see the in our live view page earlier that we have seen, you don't see the language on the right side as well, because this is the language is provided by the other party. Let's say I'm going to see first term, because this was not provided by the user. Lisa decides to fill in her own information here. So as soon as she saves this contract is created now. And if I go back to the request, now requester can actually see what is an associated contract as well. And that attachment that was provided as part of the contract request, the third-party paper, is attached here as well. You can just click on this, and you can see that that attachment is provided here as well. Now the contract is created. You are back to the flow that we had discussed earlier. You can send for internal review, you can send for external review, and you can send for approval, or you can send it for signature. All these actions, just like what we had done earlier, you can repeat them here as well. So I think that's what I primarily wanted to cover. And obviously there are a lot of other nuances that we can cover, but we are kind of reaching to 29 minutes to my recording. So I think I'll leave it more for future sessions. And once again, I really thank you for your patience and watching this video, and hoping to talk to you pretty soon. And happy to answer any other questions offline or otherwise as well. Thank you.